So today I'm going to address the question, right? I'm going to reconcile what might feel like a conflict to the ego between the perfectionist being and becoming. And I'm going to talk about it from a particular point of view, from my point of view, from my experience. And I'm going to say that there's no conflict whatsoever between the perfectionist being from realizing the aspect of yourself that just is, right? It just is. There's just a dimension of yourself that you can access in the physical body that essentially there is no experiencer, right? And by the way, there still is an experiencer, but it's a very slight feeling of experiencer, but it's a feeling that you're pretty much you just exist as kind of like this infinite potential, and then you start to stick your head out and become awareness, right? That's the best way I can describe it. But see, that's one dimension of ourselves. That's one leg of the journey, so to speak. So when we are disidentifying, when we are wanting to be God realized, right? We're wanting to be God realized, so we make the journey back. We unlearn, we let go of name and form and word and everything, right? Because you have to let go of form in order to make yourself available to experience the formless. And there are varying depths of experiencing the formless, right? There's just kind of a mental way to experience it where you walk around and you're no longer naming things or narrating things, but there's a more feeling version of it where like you feel your body to be the full emptiness of the universe, right? You can tune into any part of your body and you literally open a door into the whole universe, right? So the experience is actually my body is the universe and my true body is the whole universe. It's an experience. But see, once you complete that, some people say, okay, that's the goal. That's the goal. That's the destination of the soul, right? We want to get to a point where we're just being and we have no desire to experience anymore. So we're just in that dimension, So here's my experience. That's not my experience. My experience is that there's a return leg. and basically the experience that I'm having and what I'm sharing and what I'm energizing is that you bring this realization of yourself into form, into the mind, into the body, right? The idea of attaining Christ consciousness or of the rainbow body or the light body, it requires a perfection of the mind. It requires a perfection of the mind. Because if you remain as the observer, okay, so you're back here. By the way, the observer is more like right here. The observer is, okay, I can see that I'm not thought. Okay, but there's kind of like a much further way to go from there. The observer is like a middle stage where often people are still identifying, this is me, this is I, this is what I really am, the observer. But that's not true. You actually are the whole spectrum. You are the no experiencer. You have these vehicles of the I awareness, of the observer, the soul, the form, right? You have all these vehicles, but you are the whole system. And so basically what my experience is that there's an impulse in my heart, right? There's an impulse in my heart, and I wasn't expecting this. The awakening that I had was, it was out of nowhere. I wasn't preparing for it consciously. It just happened. I went out here. right? And part of that experience is the somatic realization that all is myself, right? All is myself. So you literally walk around feeling like almost tickled by reality, because you're just looking at yourself everywhere. You're with other people, and your feeling is there's only one being here talking to itself, and there's like a joy. There's a joy of that. So I'm actually going to get into how to get there, because another thing that I want to energize is that enlightenment in any way, shape, or form is not necessarily a predetermined thing in the fate of your soul that you got to wait for. It's right now. There's ways to open into it right now. So my experience, right, is that, or what's moving through me, is that there's this desire to want to perfect the mind and the body. And from what I understand, actually, my closest friend, who happens to be a very gifted channel, he channeled about this the other day. And what he channeled was exactly what I've been receiving, which was that in order to attain the light body, you must first realize reality, right? You must first become enlightened, or whatever. I hate all these words. Everybody nitpicks about what they mean. But you must know, it must be your knowledge it must be your absolute knowledge, right? That everything is myself. Everything is myself. And from there, right, you can only truly embody the fullness of creator consciousness if you are consciously aware of yourself as God. Consciously aware, what does that mean? That means that in everyday life, right, you're interacting as love, you're interacting as the space that contains emotion, that doesn't run from emotion. You're a love and a presence that doesn't run towards immediate satisfaction and appetites. You have the creator consciousness of knowing that you can create bridges and waves through what appear to most minds to be challenges. So there's this return journey, right? And what happens is the personality is fragmented, and depending on the impacts that the soul has undergone, the fragments of the mind are varying degrees of severe, meaning there's sometimes very little communication between one part and the rest of the personality. It might be this twisted part that all of a sudden comes out of nowhere and acts, creates chaos. So what I'm teaching is how to bring the whole system into integrity. Whether you have had these kind of awakenings or not, they're really helpful and useful just for the well-being and the quality of your life, and to prepare and to make yourself available for these kind of dramatic awakenings. It'll be much easier if the highway of your consciousness, right, if the emotional and psychological content of your chakra system is relatively has been attended to. So there's no conflict between the ultimate, the fundamental reality, the ground of being then manifests and becomes form. So my experience is that there's this desire to embody source consciousness in every single way. What does that mean? Well, and this is a practice that you can do, and this is a practice that Jesus did. It mattered to him what came out of his mind. Some people say, oh, you have no control of your mind. That's not true. That's not true. You have no control of your mind if you're not willing to feel. If you're not willing to feel, your feelings own you, and therefore the excess energy is creating racing dialogues. And so you must learn to drop into the body and discharge the energy. And the best resource about that, although it's pretty long and in my opinion a bit unnecessarily scientific, is the book The Pathway of Surrender, Letting Go by Dr. David Hawkins. So Jesus cared about everything he put out into the ethers, and that requires a very intense presence. That requires a certain intensity of energy, right? And so, of course, in order to have this quality of energy, you have to understand how to build your energy, how to maintain your vitality, which I will teach you as well. So he would literally, he would not put out into the universe hateful thoughts, unkind thoughts, right? It mattered to him too much as the creator, what he was creating. Because you are the creator. You are the creator. You're not just the ground of being. You are the creator. And in order for you to be full spectrum God, not just half of it, you have to care and you have to embody you have to take responsibility for what you are creating. So a practice could be, right, if you walk around as feeling yourself as kind of this source, a void space, almost like the eye of a hurricane, right, with a radiation, and you walk around and you start teaching your body mind, I am source. No, I am the source, and what radiates from me matters. It matters. And so that you have this intensity of presence, and you're holding in your conscious awareness, I am source. Because what is held in thought, right, is what becomes. What is held. So if your mind is just wandering, your life moves in a random way because you're not focused, right? So cultivating the skill of concentration is very helpful as well. But walking around, holding in conscious awareness, I am the source, right? I am the source. So you see yourself as the unborn, radiating light and energy into the universe, right? Your radiation is you are like the sun. You are radiating into the universe. So, okay, if you walk around with this image, then you start to have this intensity of presence, and you're okay, it really matters what I think. It really matters, the dialogue that I'm willing, the sounds create, right? The sounds, and that whole thing about, and then there was the word, the sound creates form. So you are literally creating form with your mind. So to walk around with this intensity of presence, holding in the mind, yes, I am source. I am the source of my life. Put it on your phone. Put a note on your phone. I am the source of my life. Not just in a fundamental sense, not just oh yay, everything's me. Hi guys. Hi everyone. This is so fun. No. On a relative level, you are the source. You are the creator of your life as well. And that is equally as important. So what I was going to share with you in this video as a way to begin to really, truly cultivate a connection, right, with your environment, so that in every way that you can, enhance the reality that everything is myself, is to speak to the elements. Okay, the elements, fire, water, earth, air, and also ether, they are living and they have spirits. And one of the embodiments of the element of fire is the sun. The earth is a being that embodies all of the elements, and let me tell you that these beings love us tremendously. If you were to tune into a tree in your neighborhood, and you were to just ask it, how do you feel about me? You would probably start crying, right? Because those beings love you so much. And so to wake up in the morning to greet the sun, hello sun, first of all, the practice of receiving rays of sun, right, consciously, being consciously aware that what I'm doing, what I'm practicing is just completely the act of receiving. I'm receiving sun. I didn't have to do anything for this. The sun is hitting me. I'm creating vitamin D. So much is happening in my body. It's improving my immune system, energizing my organs, my everything, right? And to be in a conscious communication with the sun. Say, thank you, sun. Thank you, water. Thank you, air. Step it up a notch, right? Go through your neighborhood. Thank you, flowers, right? Everything is alive, right? The flowers in your neighborhood make it more beautiful. Thank you, flowers. One of the things that Jesus would do, he would sit in a body of water until he became at one with the body of water, and he would move the water, right? Because when you become one with an element, you may have had this experience, like you can move the weather. And this is not about controlling reality. This is not about, but the thing is, you're creating reality. Are you creating consciously aware that you're connected to everything and that everything is alive? Or are you just letting your mind do whatever it does and creating whatever kind of weather, whatever it does, right? That's fine. That's all good. But I'm speaking to a kind of level of mastery that if you're interested in, I'm sharing some of the ways to cultivate it. So to wake up and to connect with the sun, to thank the sun, to be in communication with life, right? To be in communication with life, to make that decision and to remind yourself to live that way creates a portal where your soma is experiencing truth, not just your mind, right? Your body and the other forms are exchanging this joy of this beautiful symbiosis, right? This beautiful interchange of energy. Like trees, like I said, love us so much. The earth loves us so much. It's like almost overwhelming. It's just like connect with that every single day and start to build, right? When you are aware of the interconnectedness, right, in a feeling way, but also like in an appreciative way. This is one of the easiest ways to live in appreciation. When you realize like all these beings are alive and giving me life and making this journey possible, this amazing journey of time and space, where I have the opportunity to self-correct, right? Because in the astral world, it's harder to self-correct because when you think something, you're there. The earth is providing an exquisite experience, not just of the journey of the soul, but also this feast of energy and sensation that is beautiful, right? A feast of the eyes, a feast of pleasure, a feast of taste is provided to us from the earth. So to be in communication, to be in conscious communication with her and with the sun, and then it opens this wormhole of like, okay, well, if that's true, then what I'm eating, the juice that I made this morning, like the coffee that I brewed this morning, it grew on a tree. Like life is just giving. Like to be in conscious awareness of that, it starts to build your earth element. So the earth element is the root chakra. The earth element, right? Psychologically, the earth element is about a desire to be here, wanting to be here, right? The easiest way to want to be here is to create a world you want to be in, right? And the world that I want to be in is appreciative and consciously aware of the connection of everything, but in a fairly joyful way. So that creates an opening in the root for the spirit to come in a little bit more, and therefore your vitality and your prana increases, right? Because when you know, another psychological thing that's in the root and in other chakras is shame about self, guilt about who you are, where you are in your journey, thinking that you should be somewhere else other than you are. I've talked about that a lot, but I'll do another video about that. That is a block that literally just completely drains your vitality. It just drains your vitality because the truth of you is that you are the Godhead expressing. So basically the opposite of that, the furthest you can get away from that truth in the mind is I'm bad, I'm evil, I'm a sinner, right? And so I talk a lot about being consciously aware of myself as love and light and as connected and as receiving the abundance of life, that's how you begin to disintegrate that belief that I'm bad, I'm a sinner, that is in some way, shape, or form woven into the minds of every individual, because it's in the fabric of the minefield of the human experience. So practicing the connection with the elements, speaking with the elements, seeing where that takes you, that begins to increase your life force. So after you've realized reality, or before, whenever, right? Sometimes people do things in different orders. But this idea of perfecting the mind, it's not in conflict with I'm already perfect. It's that now I'm consciously evolving. And this is where we become ascended masters. This is where we become light beings, right? If you were to just leave the body-mind where it is and just observe it, that's you. The I am created that. And so you're just leaving your creation over here, like floundering, basically. So I'm saying reclaim it, reclaim the mind and the body, and start to look at yourself as perfect. Christ consciousness is seeing the perfection of myself and others, right? Seeing the perfection of life. Knowing that I am the source and caring about what I put into the ethers. It's embodying the love and the truth of myself on every level of myself, not just observing the old momentum of my thought and feeling, but bringing my consciousness into thought and feeling and radiating a whole new understanding into the world of form. So I'll make another video about this, a continuation of this conversation. I'll talk more about the elements. And I'll talk more about how to open up the lower chakras in order to increase your vitality. Because it's really important. Because if you don't understand energy, if you don't understand how to increase vitality, and if you don't understand the psychological things that are in your chakras that decrease vitality, then you're going to be calling in more and more energy with desire, but the desire won't have anywhere to go, because it's hitting a psychological dam of a construct that you have about yourself. I will never heal. I am bad. I'm a sinner. Being female is disgusting. I'll make a whole separate video about that. But this is my message for today. Being and becoming they're not in conflict. Wanting to perfect the mind and the body is very real for me. I don't know, I'm speaking to what's real for me. And that's, to me, part of the enlightenment journey. It's not just the journey back, it's the journey back in, but with consciousness, with mastery, with skill. So I'll speak more about this, and I'll try to do some more content. I'm leaving out of town again on Wednesday. So if you have, I've also received a lot of questions about Kundalini, because I know that's the most interesting, cool, phenomenal thing that I've talked about. But every single thing that I talk about is how to free up space within your mind, aka the chakra system, so that Kundalini can rise. Because if you wake up your Kundalini with all this stuff going on, it'll be pretty shocking and painful. Trust me, it happened to me. So every single thing that I speak about is about creating availability for Kundalini to rise in a joyful way. Now, the most important thing by far when it comes to Kundalini is the marriage of the male and the female, the relationship, the communication between the male and the female. That is by far the most important thing to understand within your energy system. The marriage between the mind and the emotions, between the alpha and the omega, the being and the becoming, the relationship and the communication between these energies, right? There's a battle of Armageddon inside of us. It's between the male and the female. It's between the mind and the emotions. It's between the adult and the child. And so reconciling those things is the most healing thing that you could possibly do for the integrity of your energy, of your experience. And I will get more into that on another day. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a beautiful day.